Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the Frames Double Feature Hour, the show where I share with you two movies that go together either like tonally, thematically, or they just make a good pairing. For the inaugural episode of this series, our topic is going to be alcohol abuse. Woo, yeah, thank you so much. Before I get started, this is my first YouTube video ever. It's kind of figuring a lot of this stuff out. I still don't even really know how to edit as of recording this video. I've never touched Premiere Pro in my life. This video is gonna be kind of a test run. I'm hoping to move on to some like bigger projects in the future, some cooler stuff coming down the line. But I thought, you know, while I'm doing this, while I'm figuring this whole thing out, might as well give the good people of YouTube some content in the process. So without further ado, let me tell you about The Lost Weekend. So The Lost Weekend follows this alcoholic named Don Burnham through a 4-day bender in New York City. At the start of the movie, Don's packing for a weekend trip with his brother when his girlfriend stops by with Blink-182 tickets, I guess. I was really excited to see Ray Milland in this, by the way, in the lead role. He plays Don Burnham. Because I really loved him in Dial M for Murder. That's an Alfred Hitchcock movie. One of his lesser-known ones, I think, too. Very good one, though. Recommend it. His alcoholism is so severe that his brother and his girlfriend are afraid of leaving him alone because they think he might end up drinking. But they decide to trust him and leave him alone in the apartment. And, yeah, he ends up going to the liquor store and then to the bar, where he gives this monologue to the bartender.
It shrinks my liver, doesn't it, Ned? It pickles my kidneys, yes. But what does it do to my mind? It tosses the sandbags overboard so the balloon can soar. Suddenly I'm above the ordinary. I'm competent, supremely competent. I'm walking a tightrope over Niagara Falls. I am one of the great ones. I'm Michelangelo molding the beard of Moses. I'm Van Gogh painting pure sunlight. I'm Horowitz playing the Emperor Concerto. I'm John Barrymore before the movies got him by the throat. I'm Jesse James and his two brothers, all three of them. I'm W. Shakespeare. And out there, it's not Third Avenue any longer, it's the Nile, Ned. The Nile, and down it to the bar.
So his drinking forces him to miss the train, and his brother leaves for the trip without him. So now he's home by himself all weekend with plenty of alcohol to fuel his addiction, and the story just kind of unfolds from there. At one point, he tells the story of the last time Blink-182 was in town.
Well, that was a good song. Here's another one.
And overall, he keeps talking about this dream that he has about writing a novel about his alcoholism. But ironically, his alcoholism always ends up getting the better of him and hinders his progress. You know, it's this constant fight for him between his creativity and his addiction. And it's a very dark but realistic portrayal of addiction. But it's one of the best portrayals that I think I've ever seen on film, but that might also be because I've never seen Requiem for a Dream before, because I do not think that I could handle that movie. His addiction drives him to some pretty dark places. He ends up stealing money, he ends up in a drunk tank, and he ends up contemplating suicide at the end of the movie. And this is a movie that I feel like really holds up pretty well. It ends on a positive note, on an optimistic note, but it holds up, I think, because addiction isn't really something that changes. You know, the people that are struggling with addictions 80 years ago go through the same things that people struggling with addiction today do. So it's a movie that works really well, has held up incredibly well for a movie released nearly 80 years ago. I definitely recommend it. Give it a watch if you get the chance. So, let's take a little break, just for the time being. Not an ad break. I don't have monetization on the channel yet, but, just a little break, just a little opportunity to lay back, stretch your feet a little bit. Well, not your feet. Don't stretch your legs a little bit. Stretch your legs. And yeah, just Lost Weekend. It's a good movie. It's an old one. You can stomach an old movie. I think you're gonna dig it. Pretty solid movie. So, getting ready to move on to the next one. It's not tonally very similar to The Lost Weekend, but thematically, they have a lot of overlap. You guys ready? You guys ready for it? All right, intermission over. So what's next? Oh, The Hangover. Everybody knows the plot of The Hangover. I'm not going to get too into detail with it. Justin Bartha is having this bachelor party. Helms, Coop, and Galifianakis lose him, and they have to run around Las Vegas to try and find him. Now that that's out of the way, this movie was so successful that it basically killed the R-rated comedy. It was just a movie that was just too wild and too funny to top. And I really feel like there was kind of a steep drop in the quality of R-rated comedies after this movie came out. Because I feel like this was kind of the natural conclusion of these increasingly zany, crazy comedies. It just really feels like the script was written around the jokes. Because everything that happens in this movie, every twist, every turn that the plot takes, it feels like the writers were sitting around trying to think of the funniest possible thing that could happen next. And I feel like you really don't see a lot of comedies, at least now, that kind of employ that same style, where every choice is a comedic choice. Not to mention, I have to say, this is some of the most sincere artistic vision that I've seen in a movie with a $35 million budget. Because big budgets usually mean big studios. But every joke here feels really well written and really carefully placed into this movie. There's clearly some studio stuff. I'm personally not a huge fan of this Mike Tyson cameo, which, feels dated not even 15 years later. But most of this film, the Mike Tyson thing is really like the biggest complaint, the biggest critique that I think I would give this film. Because most of this film feels like the producers were just really willing to let it breathe and let Todd Phillips, yes, that Todd Phillips, kind of have his way with his directorial vision. Is it a fair assessment to call Helms, Galifianakis, and B. Coop national treasures? Because if so, Justin Bartha is not looking for the national treasure. National treasure is looking for Bartha. Anyway, it's a hilarious film. It's a great time. It's easily one of my favorite comedies of all time. Definitely check it out. A lot of fun. There's the references Casino at one point. Casino's a good movie. Check out Casino if you haven't seen Casino before. And anyway. So, why do these movies make such a good double feature? Well, let me ask you, why are you so impatient? I'm getting there. So picture this. You invite the gang over for a double feature. You throw in Lost Weekend. Interesting, solid movie, good movie even. And it conveys the right message. Addictive substances are okay, but in moderation, That movie ends. Then you throw in Hangover. The gang is like, yo, this movie is sick. A lot of them have probably seen it before. And they get to see the fun side of addictive substances. These characters aren't like addicts or alcoholics. They have a little too much fun one night. You could have a drinking game. You could turn it into a drink. Well, you could, maybe not during the Lost Weekend, might be a little insensitive, but get some drinks out, when you throw in the Hangover, they'll dig that. And everybody leaves with this moral, have fun, but too much fun can lead to no fun at all. Boom. End of video. Making people happy, saving lives. This channel's going places. I invest now. I would subscribe. I would do it. Anyway, thank you, and have a good night.